Hi guys, this is Hero. How's everyone doing today? आज बता game show आज सब कैसे हो? So today I'm going over in Jyotish or astrology how you can utilize transits and dashas to increase your level of happiness compared to how most people utilize them. And before I give this answer, I'm fully aware that most of the people are not going to fully fall in love with this answer, okay? But this is just my opinion. Instead of utilizing dashas and transits, primarily dashas, to see in the current or upcoming near future dashas, or sub periods like anta dashas or pratyanta dashas, things that you want to see happening, instead of analyzing those periods to see those things, you want to do the opposite. You want to analyze the current or upcoming near future to rule out things that you or your ego would like to happen from happening. Okay, so for example, if you're running your upcoming one is like a Rahu or Ketu dasha of some sort, you want to fully just embody the mindset that, hey, I might not be, at an all-time high in, a state of joy or ecstasy during this period, and that's okay, right? Or at certain periods, relationship happiness or the chances of finding a relationship might not be happy. My career might not be, taking off as I want it to be, right? And the whole reason why we're doing this is to basically detach from your expectations and illusions, which is what's actually going to make you, truly happy in the long run, right? I made a video a little while back where I basically just said, like, the number one thing I learned from astrology, and that's that everything's changing, right? When you see an astrology chart, you kind of realize that everything's always changing. In 10 years, 20 years, 2 years, whatever, things are going to change. Nothing's going to stay the same. And to not really attach to anything in the moment, because we always have this thing of like, when we achieve this thing, or when this thing comes, or when this thing happens, we're set for life, that's it. That is not true. Hey, I promise you, if you are unhappy and there's this person or something, just job, a large amount of money that you want to come in, when that thing comes, after 2 months, your happiness is going to be right around the same level. Okay, if anything, it'll be worse. Okay. In Islam, it is prohibited, or it is haram, to view like the Kundli or Jyotish to basically any extent, right? I'm not an expert, right? But like the town I live in, there's more, Muslims and Hindus, okay, in the US. Now, I have no plans of converting to Islam, but that does not mean that we can't like learn from other communities and things like that, right? It's a very beneficial tool actually, right? To basically just learn from other people. This is why the 9th house in astrology it's the most auspicious house, and it governs like foreign travels and things like that, right? Because you learn the most from that kind of stuff, the exposure to other communities and things like that. Now, the reason why it's prohibited is because of the concept that I was trying to get at the beginning, right? That most people, they use astrology to attach to the things that they want, right? I want, this perfect partner. I'm using astrology to attach, to basically try and predict when this thing is going to happen, right? I'm wrapping my head around this thing and thinking about it even more, right? Rather than just actually living my life out here, okay? So Jyotish is a very powerful tool, and I believe that you can use it, right? But you just have to be aware. You don't have to cut it off completely just because it has a lot of, it has a lot of things that you have to watch out for, which is why also in the Western world, it's not that respected, right? It's basically viewed as like this thing that like, kind of like emotional or ungrounded people use and things like that. And for very valid reasons. Okay. So it's not like, those people are wrong either. Especially with the Western astrology, which I made a video on Western astrology versus, Vedic astrology, and how the Western astrology system is even not as good in any closeness at all. But the point is, if you do use it, right, in order for it to actually make you happy in the long run and, fulfill your spiritual goals, which is kind of what it's meant to do, right? It's a supplemental spiritual tool, ideally to take you more towards spiritual enlightenment eventually, or at least make you more aware of your spiritual karmas. You want to use it as much as possible to detach, right? To basically just understand that, life is a very long game. It is not as hyped up as your ego would like it to be, or especially based off of, possible certain media that you might consume, like movies and shows and things like that. So that's it, okay? Just when you're analyzing things, just use it to detach, right? You'll find that you'll be so much more happier, okay? There are times that you need to look into, you need to use this thing to see certain things that might happen, right? I do understand that. But if you're going to do that, just try to be as distant as possible when doing it. If you, for example, really need money and you're trying to see when you're going to get a job or something, if you kind of sense that it could be in a certain period and all of a sudden you're thinking about what car you're going to buy, all this kind of stuff, what new shirt you're going to buy or whatever, that your shoes, that now that you're going off a really wide tangent here, okay? So it's up to you to be aware of these things. So yeah, just remember that, okay? That's it for this video. A little bit of a short one. If you have any questions or comments, as usual, feel free and let me know. Until next time, I'll talk to everyone later. Thank you all very, very much for watching.